Please welcome the Executive Director and General Manager of the First Pacific Leadership Academy, Mr. Roy Agustin K. Evalie.
Take your seats, please. Thank you. Our dearest Chairman, Mr. Manuel V. Pangilinan, the First Pacific Leadership Academy Board of Trustees President, Victor Rico Vargas, the First Pacific Leadership Academy Board of Trustees Vice President, Mr. Oscar Reyes, distinguished members of the FPLA Board of Trustees, our esteemed presidents and CEOs of the various companies under the MVP Group who are here, members of the various management committees, students, guests, ladies and gentlemen, magandang hapon po, good afternoon. More than 5 years ago, a group of thought leaders gathered and laid down a plan to create what would be the country's first dedicated corporate university. It was imbued with a mission to spread thought leadership and celebrate entrepreneurship, leadership, innovation in science, culture, and the arts. While the First Pacific Leadership Academy actually started in 2011, or 6 years ago, it was in 2012 when we have fully opened our doors as the academy that was the embodiment of that vision. So while we are really 6 years old, we are celebrating our legal birthday this year, our 5th-year anniversary. In our 5-year or 6 years of existence, FPLA has become more than your corporate training center and corporate university in Antipolo. With your able support and continued patronage, we have jointly made the First Pacific Leadership Academy an incubator of new ideas, a refuge for those seeking creative inputs, a home for wisdom wanderers, and a sanctuary of learning. The First Pacific Leadership Academy has become the FPLA that it is now, for you have allowed us to walk with you in your respective leadership journeys. As FPLA celebrates 5 glorious or 6 glorious years of equipping current and future leaders, there is no better way to begin than to explore the wonders of the art of leadership, ars docendi. Leading our encounter with these young minds this afternoon are 7 global talents known for their passion and crafts, and truly they're very young. 5 of them were born and raised by Filipino parents, 4 lives in the United States and 1 in Canada, and 1 is a Swedish Filipino who was born and raised in Gothenburg, Sweden. And the last one is an American gentleman. We have a very young doctor, a psychiatrist who earned his college degree from Vassar and earned his medical degree from Tufts University, Dr. Robertino Columna Lim. A young American language expert who works with the deaf and who earned his psychology and American Sign Language degree from the College of the Holy Cross, a Jesuit school in Worcester, Massachusetts, and a master's degree in child education from Columbia, Jeff Laraya. A very young successful entrepreneur and health coach who graduated from the College of St. Benilde of the De La Salle University, and now runs one of America's top 10 CrossFit gyms in Los Angeles, California, JP Amistoso. An international in computer science summa cum laude graduate from Georgetown University who chose to be a Broadway stage actor, J.D. Ricafort. A young lady, a marketing executive who deals with perfumes and cosmetics, finished her degree or business degree from the College of the Holy Cross in Massachusetts and an MBA from Fordham University, Romina Lim Laraya. A young and successful physiotherapist from Toronto, Canada, J.M. Aruta. A youthful business entrepreneur who holds a master's in business entrepreneurship from Gothenburg, Sweden, who writes and sings his own songs, Gabriel Isip. Our youth is so rich in talent and rich in potential. We're very happy to showcase these youthful, successful minds who excelled and made an impact in their respective fields, who now live the lives they have chosen to live. They had the potential and the talent. From these, they made use of the right discipline, dedication, as well as passion. All these summed up to a determination to carry on and live their dreams. These attributes are as true when we speak of leadership. The essence of leadership goes beyond intelligence, goes beyond wealth, and beyond any ascribed position or level. John Quincy Adams said once, "If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader." Leadership, therefore, speaks of a leader's ability to create positive impact to the person or persons that he or she leads, whether formally or informally. Let us all keep in mind that the strength of leadership will always be tested on whether such positive impact will still be remembered even with the passage of time, and on whether that same seed will be passed on to inspire others in your landscape and eventually build a whole legacy. My dear friends and guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this afternoon in celebrating our 50th or 60th anniversary, and we thank our partners in making this occasion possible. Our major sponsors, PLDT, First Pacific Company Limited in Hong Kong, Meralco, Tollways Group, Rojas Holdings, and Maynilad Water. Let us inhale all the sharing of knowledge as well as experiences that we can and enjoy the conversations this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Crafting Chapters and Lessons on Thought Leadership, Season 4, our dedication to our dear chairman and the forerunner of thought leadership, Mr. Manuel V. Pangilinan. Good afternoon. Marami pong salamat.
Ladies and gentlemen, leading the discussions tonight is now the country's premier events host, writer, and entrepreneur who has captivated both the local and international scene with his insightful questions and witty remarks. He is also the first Filipino host to have a show on Netflix. Please welcome Mr. Franco Cruz Mabanta.
Wow, what an intro. Hello, can you guys hear me? Happy Friday afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the legendary Meralco Theater. My name is Franco Mabanta. I am going to be your MC today. So today, we are here for an event called Crafting Chapters and Lessons in Thought Leadership, Season 4. This is an annual event by the always impressive people from the First Pacific Leadership Academy. What about a round of applause for them? All right, now, so with the continuing commitment of the FPLA, this executive talk is designed to share lessons on thought leadership to both the country's present and future leaders. Today's talk will feature exciting personalities who will share with us their stories on how they have successfully crafted their own space and succeeded in the international scene. Filipinos are definitely world-class, and our guests today are some of the many exemplars who are living proof that with the right attitude and determination, we all have what it takes to live the life we want to live. Now, our executive talk is also our special dedication to our chairman, Mr. Manny Pangilinan. Where is he? Mr. MVP, are you here? Well, what about a round of applause for MVP? MVP's work, life, passion, and love of country have inspired others and enabled him to create a leadership legacy that is felt by those he works with, whether in the country or abroad. Now, to get things started, let me introduce our distinguished panel for today. First up, he is a physician in the San Mateo County Psychiatry Residency Program who has made him an impact on public health and technology applications in the medical field. He completed his bachelor's in science, technology, and society at Vassar College and is a graduate of Tufts University School of Medicine. In medical school, he was the IT coordinator for Tufts Free Clinic and was a finalist for the Massachusetts Medical Society IT Award. In 2013, he received the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation International Clinical Research Fellowship to perform HIV research in the African country of Malawi. Outside of his medical career, he was the 2006 New York, New Jersey Filipino Idol and has continued to write songs, perform in theater productions, concerts, and charitable events. From San Mateo, California, USA, please welcome Dr. Robertrino Lim. Welcome. Next up, Mark Twain said, "Kindness is the language which the deaf can hear." Our second panelist speaks that language as a teacher for the deaf and hard of hearing. During his college days at the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts, he got involved in teaching swimming lessons to deaf kids, which prompted him to finish psychology, take up American Sign Language classes, and eventually his 2 master's degrees from Columbia University. 1 in elementary education and 1 in teaching the deaf and hard of hearing. Interestingly, he uses different approaches, even woodworks, as he teaches. From New York, USA, our inclusion advocate, Mr. Jeffrey Laraya. Jeffrey? Next up, juggling school, business, and art is not a problem for our next panelist. At his young age and while completing his master's degree, he took administrative roles in Filipiniana, Sweden, an international interior design wholesaling business where he works as a creative director. Just recently, he completed his Master of Science in Knowledge-Based Entrepreneurship at Gothenburg School of Business, Economics, and Law. In 2015, he founded the company GIMB Entertainment. From Sweden, singer and entrepreneur, Mr. Gabriel Isip. Next up, our next panelist believes that right opportunities present themselves to the open-minded and well-prepared. He currently sits on the board of Cedar Hust, a specialized home caring for people with Alzheimer's and other dementias. He completed his Bachelor of Science in Occupational Therapy from Queen's University in Toronto and eventually completed his Master's in Health Administration from the University of Toronto. Ladies and gentlemen, our patient welfare advocate from Canada, Mr. J.V. Aruta. Hey, J.V. All right, next up, fit body, fit life. More than a state, our next speaker believes that fitness is a lifelong journey. Our next panelist finished computer science and business from De La Salle University College of St. Benilde before he started a successful fitness career in the United States. He is the proud owner and head coach of one of the most successful CrossFit centers in the U.S. Prior to his fitness career in the U.S., he was also a radio jock in one of our local FM stations. From L.A., California, USA, let us give a hand to Mr. J.P. Amistoso. Making it big in the beauty and cosmetics industry is a tough mountain to climb, but it is comforting to know that we have a Filipina occupying a seat in one of those. Our panelist is the Assistant Vice President of Brand Marketing for Shuemura Art of Hair at L'Oreal USA in Manhattan. In her 15 years in sales and marketing, she has handled luxury brands like Lancome, Giorgio Armani Beauty, and Ralph Lauren fragrances. Her successes made L'Oreal sponsor her executive development and send her to earn her Master's of Business Administration at the Fordham University School of Business in Marketing and Management. Our panelists recently received a surprise that they are expecting an addition to the family, and we appreciate that she still took the time to fly and join us here today. From New York, USA, please welcome Miss Romina Laraya. Romina? Rom. Hi, Rom. How's it going, Rom? Congratulations. All right, our seventh panelist made a mark when he graduated summa cum laude from top-ranked Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. Studying international relations and computer science, he then joined tech startups and global companies to build data analytics apps for use in emergency response and civil justice organizations. But what makes him extra remarkable is how he has chosen to expand his career into an entirely new area: performing arts. Bringing together interests he had since he was 7 years old, he now focuses on acting, singing, dancing, rapping, and songwriting, combining the two worlds of musical theater and hip-hop. At the end of the last year, he co-wrote and performed in Bars, a groundbreaking music video that he developed in collaboration with the stars of the Broadway hit Hamilton, the biggest show in the world right now. Ladies and gentlemen, also from New York, USA, completing the panel is Mr. J.D. Ricafort. Got this? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, our distinguished panel. Okay, all right, so we've prepared a number of questions for our panelists, and after the rounds of questions, we will open the floor for some questions from the audience. We would like to request the audience to jot down your questions so that we may be able to entertain as many questions as possible. Let's get things started. All right, I'd like to begin with Mr. Gabriel Isip. You've been trained in various musical fields and genres. What elements or styles, what elements or styles have you gotten from each of these, and how did it influence your current music career?
Thank you. I had a classical background, actually. So I performed pieces from Mozart and Bach.
Really?
Yeah. So it really opened my mind and broadened my preferences for different styles of music. And I find elements in my music writing today, actually, where I bring in classical violin, and like I sang in church choirs a lot. So like in some parts I would use church choirs to really feel more the song.
Right, thank you very much. Awesome. All right, next up we have Dr. Robertrino Lim. Hi again, brother.
Hi.
Okay, your interest is in the fields of psychiatry and mind-body medicine, among others. Why do you have a strong interest on the human brain, and what do you wish to discover?
Well, I have always been fascinated about learning about the human body, part of why I entered medicine. Specifically the human brain and psychiatry. The human brain is maybe the most important organ in the body. It controls everything we do and see, smell, taste, touch, everything. And there's so much that we know about the brain, but there's also so much more, even more, to learn, and that's what makes it interesting to work in this field every day. And
they
then,
say that we're at, what is it, 10% of usage? Like, is that it? I see it in movies.
Yeah, I've heard that before too. I guess that's up for debate. But yeah, we haven't tapped our full potential. And then the other part of that is that mental health issues are some of the most widespread issues around the world, and even here throughout the Philippines.
You're talking about like stuff like depression and addiction and
Exactly.
bipolar disorders and stuff like that?
Yeah, depression, anxiety, addiction, trauma, abuse. All these things are so widespread, but we don't talk about it very much.
Sure.
For reasons of stigma and shame. And I think that's changing because of people here, people around the country and around the world every day, but we can always do more.
Right, okay. They're asking me to ask this, okay? So if you can, if you can do a brain scan with a particular person or group, thoughts included, who would you pick and what do you want to know?
Well, as a dual citizen, I might say our two presidents, but they're quite open about their thoughts. So maybe we don't need that. But I guess for the students and young people out there, maybe the next great leader, the next chairman, the next creative genius out there, if we could know who that was and to see what was going through their mind today, that would be incredible to see and see that grow.
Thanks, Doc. All right, for our fitness enthusiast, JP Amistoso. Okay, before I ask the question. I went to high school with your brother.
I think he's somewhere here right
Is
now.
Michael here?
Michael's here. There he
Yeah,
is.
he was my classmate for many years in Southridge. Not only that, did you know, because you're obviously a very successful CrossFit coach in the US, right? Michael was the only one in our entire batch that made both the basketball team with me and then the soccer team.
Right.
Like so you come from an incredibly athletic family.
Yeah, they set the standards for me, actually. Yeah.
So Michael's here, right? What's
Yeah,
up,
he's
man?
right there.
Long time no
The
see. I
really
haven't seen you
dark
like a
guy.
decade and a half. Yeah. All right. Now to the question. Okay, so you've been very active in joining Ironman and triathlon challenges. What attracts you to this sport? And tell us your memorable Ironman experience.
Let's start with memorable Ironman experience. I think the most memorable one for me would be my second Ironman, which was in Lake Tahoe.
Okay. So just for people who aren't familiar with this yet, if you've been living under a rock, like what do you do in an Ironman challenge? Yeah.
So I have my cheat codes in my hand because I'm converting from miles to kilometers here. So it's a 4-kilometer swim. Okay, it's a 4-kilometer swim, 180-kilometer bike ride, and a 48-kilometer run. So it's a marathon in the end. So pretty much it's a 10 to 15-hour day, depending on the athlete.
Like how long did you run for?
Well, the fastest I've gone so far was at 10 hours and 25 minutes.
I'm sure you're aware of how many calories you burn in that amount of time.
You know what? I've stopped counting. Stopped
Well,
counting.
can you give me a range?
So I know for a bike, for a fact, that I burn close to like 3,000 calories on the bike.
Just on the bike?
Just on the bike.
Yeah, okay.
On the run, I'm not quite sure because I've never really looked at that. I always look at my heart rate on the run. But on the bike, I'm pretty sure I'm like at a 3,000 calorie range. On the swim, I'm not quite sure either. But overall, I would like to say like close to 4 maybe.
4?
Yeah. But during the competition, you're eating at the same time.
Right. So in 10 hours, you burn 4,000 calories off of your body.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
That's a lot of burgers for sure. Yeah.
Sorry, please, I interrupted.
No. Yeah, I think so. That's an Ironman, right? It's a long day, right? It's a long event basically. And I think the most memorable one for me was the Lake Tahoe one. The day before, it was snowing. It was snow the day before, so it was cold. The water was cold. Lake Tahoe is over in altitude. It's like parang nag-swimming ako sa Baguio. Nag-swimming ako sa Baguio, nag-bike ako sa Baguio, tumakbo ako sa Baguio. And tapos nag-snow pa. So that's really. And then there was a point that I wanted to give up on the bike because I was thinking of every single excuse to stop. And I saw my parents are here, so I saw my mom and dad, and they were like, you gotta keep going, and then finish the race 15 hours after. I think, what's your next question? Then,
The next question is, hello? Are you cut? Oh. Hello? Yeah, okay, the next question is, what's the bigger factor? Can I borrow that? Yeah. So the next question is, what's the bigger factor in preparing for this? Was it strong mind or sound body?
Right, so strong mind, strong body, it's a balance, right? So you can be very, very you have strong willpower, I know I can do it, kaya ko siya, pero kapag yung katawan mo di mo kaya, it's not gonna happen. And vice versa, right? So you can be strong, but if you're not checked in, it's not gonna happen either. And I think one of the questions was, what do I like about Ironmans, I think, right? So, to be honest, I'm not a big fan of the sport. I like the process going into it. The process of hard work, the hard work that you have to put in, the persistence, the grit, the patience that you have to do. And I think everyone in this room goes through that, right? In your work, in your everyday life, you go through grit, hard work, persistence, and I think that's why I love the sport. So,
excellent. All right, moving on. J.D. Ricafort. All right, first of all, I met your sister last year. She was on this panel.
That's right, yeah.
She's doing Miss Saigon now in New York, right?
That's right,
She's
yeah.
doing well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had a great time here last year, so
Okay.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, nice to have you here. It's your turn this year. Before I go to the questions, I'm going to go off book really quickly because you graduated summa cum laude at a wonderful university. Was it Georgetown?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, summa cum laude is the highest possible honors you could receive.
Yeah.
Yes. So now that you're rapping for a living, your parents must love that.
Oh, yeah. It was a very easy conversation. They said, sure, no problem.
I personally love that because you followed what you wanted to do, and I think that's great.
Yeah, and they were very, very supportive, and they still are supportive, and I think I probably give them a heart attack every day.
Sure.
But as they will always tell me, one day when I'm a parent, I'm sure I'll understand too. But for now, I just really appreciate that they're very supportive.
Right. Well, my goodness, you look like your sister. You look like Cain in a necktie. All right. So, how challenging is it, JD, to land a major mainstream role, and how tough are screenings and auditions, and how do you prepare for them?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's really, 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 really hard. So I am a performing artist, and I kind of live in two very different worlds. So the first is musical theater, and the second is hip hop. So in the musical theater world, if we're talking about, for example, like Broadway musicals, I actually did some research at one point because I was very curious. In any given year, there are more roster spots in the NBA than there are roles on Broadway.
Really?
Yeah, so just in terms of sheer numbers, it's very difficult. And then you take into account demographics and the types of roles that are out there. And historically, in America and in other places of the world, there haven't been that many roles or shows really written for people who look like me, an Asian American, a Filipino American living in the US. So there's just not that many roles available. So what that means is, in addition to those few roles that are out there, for all of the other roles, you really have to compete with a very large pool of people, and you have to be at least as good, if not 10 times better than everybody else, just to get noticed. And in the hip hop world, it's a little better. I think the hip hop world is a little more open-minded in terms of accepting newcomers into the field. But
also
it's
because
still,
there's not a limited number of slots.
That's right. Yeah. But it's still tough. I mean, people still look at you and they have a certain expectation, and they might look at me and they might not think hip hop right off the top of their heads.
Really? Why is that?
I think in popular media there's an image of people in hip hop as thugs or gangsters, and that's just not true. Like ever since hip hop kind of was born in the 70s and going into the 80s, it's been very diverse, and I'm happy to be a part of bringing that diversity to that art form.
Yeah, so basically moral of the story here is try to get drafted in the NBA instead.
Yeah. But being able to face those challenges, it is tough. I think those factors that are, could be seen as disadvantages, you can also flip them on their head and be seen as advantages. So these are things that make, at least for me, these are things that make me unique. So I try to learn to use these as advantages. And then in addition to that, just being prepared and working hard, there's also the possibility to create your own opportunities. So last year I got to meet a guy by the name of Lemon Anderson, who's a Tony Award-winning actor and poet. And he told me, if you're a writer or a producer, not just an actor, you can create jobs for yourself, you can create jobs for other people. So that really inspired me to get writing and to improve and pick up my writing. And so far, the biggest role that I've had, which is the role that I got to collaborate on with members of Hamilton, is a role that I wrote for myself. Oh, nice. So being able to carve that out as an Asian American musical theater / hip hop artist is something that I was really grateful for, and something that I try and do more of.
Right, especially when you're writing, producing, creating stuff for yourself, directing stuff for yourself. The internet really helps.
Yeah,
Gives everybody a platform, right?
Yeah.
All right, moving
Thank you,
on.
Internet.
Thank you very much. Excellent answer. Ramana Laraya, behind the glitter and glamour of the cosmetics and makeup industry, what would you consider as essential but unglamorous in your field?
I'm not sure if I'm going to share the industry secrets with you, Franco.
Please.
For me, I really feel like in the beauty industry, which is one of the most competitive industries right now in the world, there is unfortunately an unglamorous side. There's something to say about, unfortunately, a very competitive nature. You really need grit, and thick skin. I started in the industry at a very young age, at 20 years old, just moving in, and it was a lot. It was a lot to take on. I think coming in as a young Asian American who was already pigeonholed and profiled as perhaps meek, just into numbers, analytical, perhaps loyal to a fault. And I think for me, I had to overcome a lot of those preconceived notions about myself and really having to push myself to show that I'm a leader, that I can be successful, that I can be different and creative. For me, that's the problem when you're in an industry that is so competitive, that is so saturated, especially as it's run by men. It's surprising that the beauty industry is very predominantly men. There are a lot of women, but at lower level positions. And that, unfortunately, is the not so glamorous side to it, but it gives you strength, and it gives you the ability to move on and see what your capacity is and how you can surpass that.
Excellent. Okay, just for a quick reference, there's a family thing going on here, right? So you are brothers and sisters with...
The guy over there, but he doesn't really look like me.
Yeah,
so.
okay, so you guys are brother, sister, and then you guys are married.
Yes.
And expecting on the way.
And we actually have a almost 2-year-old over there.
Fantastic. High five, man. I love interracial babies. Oh, there he is. Adorable, adorable.
Hi, Thomas.
Thank you, Ramana. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on to our inclusion advocate, Jeffrey Laraya. Congratulations once again on the baby, sir. What about a round of applause for them? They arrived. They traveled all the way here. All right, sir, from your experience teaching the deaf and hard of hearing, how different is the style of teaching you are using? And what were interesting lessons you have learned from your students?
Thank you. One thing that I've kind of learned from working with my students and just working with and meeting deaf people is the ability to look at perspectives or to think about how somebody else sees the world. And part of that in my teaching style is deaf people don't really operate auditorily in the world. That's kind of by definition what's going on there. But they are excellent using their visual sense, which is kind of developed as a stronger sense. So anytime I can provide my students with an opportunity to do something more hands-on or more visual, then that usually helps them out. Also, with my students, I am teaching them English. They're living in an English-speaking world, but English was not their first language because they didn't have access to spoken language the same way that we do. So my learning their language, sign language, certainly created a certain connection with them. And really anything hands-on is my most successful attempts at teaching as it's gone so far.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just curious about this. Did you notice a heightened level of their other senses because they don't have one sense? Like, did their other 4 senses get magnified?
It's mainly the visual sense, which is used.
How so? Like in terms of like a...
Well, one example that I'll give maybe is, it's not that they're actually seeing something differently, but they're noticing different things that we might not notice. Part of American Sign Language, or as I imagine any sign language throughout the world, it's not only what's done with your hands. Part of the grammatics and other parts of the language are indicated with facial expressions. So anytime they're seeing somebody's facial expression, they're reading a lot more meaning into it than maybe you or I would. So, just by the way you carry your body or the facial expressions you make, they can perceive a lot more of that than...
I see, awesome. How do you say Franco in sign language?
If we're just talking about a name,
you just spell it basically.
Then you would just spell the name. If you had had a lot of interaction with a a lot of deaf people, they may have noticed some particular feature about you or some mannerism they have, and they may have given you what's called a sign name.
Okay.
Which,
Right.
so then that's like a shortcut that you don't have to spell your name
The
out
whole
every
thing,
time.
yeah, okay, I get it. Later on, when JD raps for us, maybe you could stay beside him and do the whole thing in sign language at the same time.
Sure,
All right.
as long as nobody knows what I'm saying.
All right, moving on to our inclusion I'm sorry, for JV Aruta. Sorry, moving on to JV Aruta. JV, how's it going, buddy? Okay.
Good.
You've been exposed to various healthcare settings in Canada, the Philippines, and China. In what way are these healthcare settings similar and different with one another?
Well, certainly languages are very different, but I find that in my work that matters very little. Patients are people, first and foremost, and they come to you as a clinician with pretty much the same concerns. They're scared, they need you to be an expert and give them advice, and, you know, and you really need to try and make a connection with them somehow so that you can be effective in your work.
Okay, excellent, awesome, awesome. All right, when you're handling, because what I've learned when you're in Asia and when you're handling, you know, Western either people, cultures, businesses, and everything, the way it's handled in Asia is monumentally different, right? Like the dynamics, because if you say something in a certain country, it could be misconstrued as something offensive here. Yeah, how do you handle that kind of stuff?
Yeah, the funny thing about Toronto is it's a city where, like, the joke between within the medical professions is that you don't have to worry about speaking speaking English too well because nobody in Toronto speaks English anyway.
They speak French.
Everybody speaks their own language.
Oh, I see.
So
okay.
the challenge really is that, so I'm from here, they're maybe from China, and we have to try and communicate in English somehow. And which is why I said earlier, the language doesn't matter so much. I think one is that you really have to be strong with your nonverbal communication. Things like eye contact. I think no matter what the culture, people can pick up on sincerity.
Right.
And if you approach a new person with a genuine intent to help them and to make their lives better, they will understand that, and a lot of the problems you run into with language barriers just kind of fall away.
Right,
Yeah.
I understand.
By the way, I want to plug my profession, by the way. I'm an occupational therapist. I know they said that earlier. I'm not going to explain what it is, but if you are curious, Google it, because it's if you are considering a career in healthcare, it's a really good choice.
Ladies and gentlemen, occupational therapist with incredible eye contact skills. All right, before we move on to our second round of questions, we're going to have a song number. Okay, so I'm going to read this. Before proceeding to our next round of questions, sharing his gift of music is our performing artist from New York, USA, Mr. Juan Drigo Ricafort. JD!
Hey, what's up, everybody? So like I said earlier, I'm a performing artist. I do a mix of musical theater and hip-hop. Today, I would love to perform an original song that I wrote. It's a hip-hop song. Would you guys like to hear it? Cool. All right, if we're going to do this song, though, I'm going to need a little bit more energy from the audience because it's hip-hop, so we like to have fun and stay loose. So let me just hear everybody cheer. 1, 2, 3. A little bit louder, please. 1, 2, 3. All right, cool. Mr. DJ, hit the music, please. Cool. So they say that you should write music about what you love. And like many Filipinos, I love basketball. So this song is actually, I want to dedicate this to my dad, who taught me to love basketball. So I hope you guys like it. It's an original, and I also added some lyrics just for this song. Here we go. Any hoop you can shoot, I can shoot better. I can shoot any hoop better than you. Do your best move and I will do you one better. Shooting hoops after school, that's what we do. You suggested that we go to the courts. Told me that you're an unstoppable force. I also play some ball, so I said of course. Get ready for a game of horse. Can you keep up with me? Even when I shoot the three? How about when I lay it up off the glass? Can you make that shot? I never settle for less, I'm always going for more. I'm always doing my best, yes, to settle the score. Just admit you're impressed, I got moves galore. And then wait for the rest when I put the ball on the floor. Ha!
Dribble, drive, step right, watch me glide. Pull over, let it fly when the time is right. I can do the same and I got game. And one day you'll see my name in the Hall of Fame. Any hoop you can shoot, I can shoot better. I can shoot any hoop better than you. Do your best move and I will do you one better. Shooting hoops after school, that's what we do. Drive down the court like I'm in a hurry. Let it fly like Stephen Curry. But take over the game. Hail to the king, LeBron James. Woo, Kawhi's my guy, Durant's the man. Butler can defend better than anyone can. Oh yeah, you know it, I got game. And you better remember my name. Hey, in Phoenix, Devin Booker's my homie. Yeah, he shoots just like Kobe. Oh, but my greatest fear is if I had to be guarding James Harden's beard. Woo! What? But there's nobody better than champion head coach Eric Spoelstra. Yo, you know who's really the best though? The Filipino blur, Jason Castro. Woo! I can shoot any hoop better than you. Let's clap. And I will do you one better. Shooting hoops after school, that's what we do. Shooting hoops after school, that's what we do. Shooting hoops, that's what we do. Yo, it doesn't matter where you're from, if you're in the NBA or your driveway. The game belongs to everyone, so long as you choose to get up, step up and play. Your dreams, your family, your faith, your art. These are the things that make life complete. Filipinos, we got the heart. Listen to it and you'll hear it beat. It goes. Thank you. Salamat po.
Ladies and gentlemen, the undeniable J.D. Ricafort. Very good. That guy was summa cum laude too. Life is not fair. Very nice, very nice. All right, I'm gonna start the second round with you. You've graduated summa cum laude, like I just said, in science, technology, and international affairs from Georgetown University. Nuts. And had a good start in the technology space. What triggered the shift, and was it difficult convincing others that you were making that shift, rather?
Sure, yeah. So thanks for the question. It was a difficult shift. One thing that I think is a misconception when people kind of hear about my path is they assume that moving into the arts was my master plan all along. So I actually worked for 5 going on 6 years in the technology space, where I was kind of doing that wholeheartedly. And that actually was my dream at the time. I didn't know that, that performing arts is something that I was going to want to do. And I think that there's actually a good chance that I could go back to tech eventually, or even find a way to combine the two further down the line. So it is something that I think my dream kind of evolved, and I think that's okay. It is challenging, but another thing that kind of, for me, allows me to bridge those two worlds is that even though on the surface they may seem very different, I think there's a lot that they actually have in common, for me at least. So when I went to Georgetown, which is a Jesuit institution, the phrase at the college was men and women for others. So everything that you do, no matter what your major is, do it for the people around you and for your community. So when I was in tech, I worked and helped build data analytics apps for use in public safety and civil justice organizations. And now that I'm in theater and in hip hop, I like to write songs. I like to be part of new works that have some sort of greater purpose. So I just finished a show in May that was about climate change and sustainability. And we got to perform at different elementary schools and sing and rap, but also teach people about the importance of the environment. And then, just like I said earlier, being able to write and create new work for people, maybe people who look like me or other people like me, and help kind of create jobs. That is something that I really kind of lean into and strive to do.
What an impressive guy, yeah? Round of applause, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, JD. Super cool. All right, Dr. Tino Lim. It is interesting to note that apart from medicine, you are also into music and arts. Can you tell us more about your music and how are you balancing these two?
Yeah, so I've been performing since I was young. It's not my main career at this time, but fun fact, back in high school, I performed with a young girl named Stephanie Germanata, and if anyone recognizes that name, now she's known as Lady Gaga. And we used to be in high school plays together and concerts and things of this sort, and got to learn a lot from her at songwriting and how to be a professional and an artist regardless of what you do. And that was a great experience.
What did you do with her exactly?
We performed alongside each other in high school plays and jazz concerts, and I got to listen to some of her original songs back then that were very different from her persona nowadays, but it was...
Do you guys remain friends now?
I've tried to keep in touch. She's a little busy, I think.
Is she, do you have her on speed dial?
No, I do not. I wish.
Okay, that's awesome. So, sorry, how do you balance the two?
How I balance the two, I think over the years, I've been able to perform in great and have great experiences. Getting to open for someone like Rica Peralejo, or open or perform at an Independence Day parade, the Philippine Independence Day parade on Fifth Avenue, to like thousands of people, and perform at schools and charity events. And that's been a great honor and some of the best experiences of my life. And how I balance that nowadays is I still try to produce music for myself, for the people I care about, and perform in charity events and that sort of thing when I can. As far as the decision between the two and balancing medicine and music, you know, that was a tough decision. Do I take the time to pursue performing full throttle like some of the panelists here today? And I thankfully had the blessing of my family to do so. Just around that same time, I started to realize that I couldn't do medicine part-time. And the best way for me, just thinking about myself, for me to combine my two passions was to pursue medicine and pursue art as much as I could outside of that. And so that was a big part for me in figuring out what I want to do. And you know, the two, they kind of jive quite well, actually. Through my artistic pursuits, then and now, I've learned a lot about focus, dedication, teamwork, communication, and just being curious about storytelling, whether it's hearing someone's story or telling it to others so that you can advocate for them. And so sometimes I say I have been a singer, but now I get to use my voice to advocate for my patients, and that's a real blessing to me.
Wonderful. Congratulations on everything. Thank you. All right, for JV Aruta, my brother, you've said that none of what you are doing was part of a detailed life plan or a childhood ambition. How did you get involved in this particular field? What healthcare challenges would you like to explore further and make an impact in?
Daming tanong.
Nice.
That's okay.
Pasensya na, binabasa ko lang.
That's okay. Okay, I want to clarify by saying that it's not that I didn't have a plan. I did have a plan. When I was much younger, I actually thought I would be a doctor someday. And, you know, it didn't take me long to realize that the universe didn't give a shit about my plans. But you have to work hard, right? And you have to adjust when things don't exactly go the way, the way that you expect them to. I got into occupational therapy through a process of elimination. Tinitingnan ko lahat ng mga trabaho na healthcare related kasi alam ko maski hindi ako doktor, gusto ko nakakatulong ako sa pasyente.
Right.
So, I went down the list. Ayoko maging masahista, so physical therapist. Ayoko pumunas ng puwet, nurse. But anyway, a few other things, and eventually I ended up with occupational therapy. It was a whole process of figuring out, you know, exactly what do I like, what am I good at? and and choosing something that I knew that even if I didn't make that next step to medical school, I'd still be happy, and I am. So the second part of your question was about what would I like to explore?
Healthcare challenges would you like to explore
Oh.
and make an impact in?
Actually, this is a healthcare challenge across the world, but probably most relevant here in the Philippines. It's health education. I volunteered at PGH, the emergency room at PGH a few years ago, and probably 80% of the people who walked in that door didn't need to be there. Well, they shouldn't have been there. Because
Sorry, in terms of what?
if they had learned about how to take care of themselves better,
okay.
how to take care of, some people have chronic illnesses, and that requires a lot of maintenance. Some people just need, very basic things like knowing you need to get a vaccine for a certain illness, knowing how to, how to prevent spreading infection. A lot of things like that are so valuable when you look at a whole population, and that's actually the challenge that I see in the Philippines. How do I get information out to maybe the far-flung provinces where they don't have TV, maybe they don't have clinics or people to teach them? So I think I have the answer, but I won't. I'm not gonna say what it is until I know it works.
Why would you say that then? No, I think that's the main reason why Zuckerberg's main advocacy in life is he wants the entire world to have internet, right? Because once you have internet in places like Africa or in the misfortunate places in the Philippines, then what happens is it's much easier to disseminate the information for things like these.
Yeah, it's a huge platform, and I think if we use it the right way, we can definitely make people a lot healthier and a lot safer.
Right, right. Also, just to piggyback on what you said earlier about having a plan but then adjusting along the way. Because I have I don't know if you know him, you know who Erwan Yusuf is? He's a very big celebrity here in the Philippines, a good friend of mine. He's the kind of guy that has a 10-year plan, a 5-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, and he follows it completely to the T. And I think that can be a little unrealistic, not really unhealthy, but unrealistic, because sometimes life has a way of nudging you in a certain direction that is unpredictable, and you have to be able to learn how to adjust instinctively and roll with the punches, basically.
Yeah, writing a plan down is something that a lot of experts actually recommend, so that you can make it real and you can start working on the steps to to get from point A to point B. And I'm not saying that's a bad idea. That's actually a really good one. I think you have to have the certain mindset that if it doesn't quite work out the way you want it to, you have two choices, right? You can either pick yourself up, readjust, and find another way forward, or you can throw your hands up and cry about it. And that's not going to get you anywhere. So I think that, learn how to deal with disappointment. I think it'll make you stronger. It will drive you forward if you take that energy and focus and refocus it.
I think my favorite answer today so far. Nicely said. Well done, well done.
Thank you.
All right, okay. Round of applause. I like that answer a lot. Okay, for Ramana Laraya, your entry into this industry was least expected, as you were not into cosmetics when you were younger. Is that correct? Yeah. So what was your story, and how is it like to lead in a male-dominated, white-dominated industry?
That's a good question, Franco. So for those of you who don't know, I didn't necessarily have this grand plan, like in this big dream that a lot of that my fellow panelists have here. I didn't necessarily know that I wanted to do engineering and become an artist or a fitness coach. I just knew that I wanted to, listen to my parents and work hard and make good money, ideally become a doctor or a nurse, but that wasn't quite really my plan in life. For me, it was really just going to school, getting good grades, and it will come. That was always ingrained for me from very early on from my parents, that God will take care of it, just work hard. So I think in all of life and kind of going through it, that's just exactly what I did. And it's funny because now that I work for the biggest beauty company in the world, I actually never really loved makeup. I was never this beauty-obsessed junkie. Rewind 20 years ago, I wore not an ounce of makeup. I used to make fun of all my friends, calling them unnatural, fake. I would always make fun of them for spending the money that they did at these beauty counters, and now they make fun of me, saying that I, basically make a living doing what they precisely have been telling me to do for 20 years. So I just happened upon it. I was fortunate enough to get recruited, and I actually worked behind a Lancome counter, doing makeup, quickly learned, and to kind of climb the corporate ladder from there and realized that I wanted to pursue this passion of mine and really find ways to help people.
Yeah, so that's really cool. So like, when you were working for them, they decided to send you to school, to Fordham
Yes.
University, right?
Yes.
So how does that work? First of all, that's really impressive. I love it that they had, so much faith in you that they decided to pay for your tuition. But how does that work afterwards? You're locked up with them for...
Yeah, so that's probably why I've been there for the 15 years that I've been there. So they sponsored me started back when I was 24 years old, and it took me 4 years, part-time, 2 classes a semester, basically all year round for 4 years straight. And then I owed them 2 years. So I started at 24, and I knew that I was going to be there until I was 30. So, and they have really good maternity, so then I just kind of stuck around having my having my kids.
Yeah, and then just to re-emphasize this question, how do you handle the male dominance and the white dominance in your industry?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question. I think this is something that we all need to be sensitive about and be wary of us as the world evolves. As we know, the last presidency, there was a woman who could potentially be president. I think there's a lot of male-dominant industries and communities out there, and we are making progress. Women are making progress. Asian Americans are making progress, but it's still a journey. And I think for me, it was always about an individual and actually standing out, and not necessarily my gender or my race. And that's the only way for us to really move forward, because instead of seeing color, instead of just voting for someone because she's a woman, instead of voting for someone because he's black, there has to be reasons behind it that you feel the same way, because just because we look a certain way doesn't mean that we think the same way.
Right.
And for me, in this industry that I've been, it's been difficult to staying true to who I am, because not everyone who wants to get to the top is going to act that way. So you have to be sure that you can go home and sleep at night and with yourself.
Terrific. Thank you very, very much. Really good stuff. Good stuff. All right, my bro JP Amistoso. So the fitness world has also been extremely competitive, much like the cosmetics world. Right. What were the challenges you've encountered in setting up a successful CrossFit outfit in the U.S.? And what is your total fitness philosophy, and how were you able to differentiate your services with others?
Right. So those are 3 questions, right? So in terms of fitness philosophy, my biggest thing is like in anything, right? Hard work. Right. The sport of the Ironman triathlon, basically, like you work hard, it gives you results, right? Like in your business, right? So you're constantly working, and when you work hard, luck happens, or you get the results that you want, right? So that is my philosophy: hard work and do your best. Like constantly, you know that you work so hard and you gave it your all, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters, right? So that's my philosophy in that. In terms of a competitive market, so what's funny is I'm a very competitive guy. I always, like in anything, I always go, all right, what's he doing that I need to be better at, right? Or like in your business, or executives here or business owners, right? You always think about your competition, right? What is he doing or what is she doing that I need to know so that I can get better or beat the other person, right? So I personally have found that as a flaw. That's a flaw in my organization. The reason to that is because I got too caught up thinking about others, that the essence of who I am and my organization was lost.
I see. How interesting. Yeah.
So what happens is, how I reevaluated that was, okay, what are we about, right? What is my name of my organization is Gambatte. It means do your best in Japanese. So what is my organization about? What do we stand for? Instead of me thinking about my competition and what they're about, I was more concerned of what my coaches, my staff was about. And I think that turning point made my gym, my organization, a better one, one of the best in LA. And also with that, you know, it also that I guess that makes me different. That makes us different. Knowing who you are, and building on that. If that makes any sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely, it makes
Right.
perfect sense.
Right.
All right. So it says the question asked a while ago was also what challenges you've encountered in setting up a successful CrossFit outfit in the U.S. And then
Right.
I would like to add to that because we had a nice little chat backstage about if you've trained any famous celebrities because that's a really cool story.
Oh man, I think challenges in the U.S. is well, I think the challenges back home, back in the States, would be, like there's no sense of comfort sometimes. Like there's my whole family is here, so there's no one that I can go like, Mom, Dad, what do you think? There's no one to bounce ideas off sometimes, and I think that I find that very hard back in the States. So everything is trial and error. I had to commit mistakes to better myself, and I think that's a hard pill to swallow. At the same time, that's something that it's part of the process, I guess. And then celebrities, yes, there's a lot. They're fun. You see a lot of pretty people coming into your gym and all that stuff. But because we've identified what we are, we attract really good people into our gym. So they're very humble, down to earth, very cool people.
Very Aquaman.
Very Aquaman.
So he doesn't want to say it, but I'll say it. So Jason Momoa goes to his gym, which is super cool. You guys know who Aquaman is?
Oh.
You guys know Gal Gadot from Wonder Woman, right? So his teammate, so it's Ben Affleck as Batman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. So Aquaman goes to his gym. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yep,
he
that's
trains
pretty cool.
Aquaman. Yeah. Anyway, he was also called Drogo in Game of Thrones. So you guys are Black fans. So, all right. Okay. Thank you, brother. All right. To our singing entrepreneur, Gabriel Isip. Hello.
Yep. Hello,
Okay.
hello.
So if there is a long time no see, by the way, it's felt like it's been years.
I'm right here.
Jesus. Okay, so if there is a song that captures your view of the future, what would it be and why?
I like to see myself as a quite positive guy. So the future includes that. And like building on JV earlier, even though there may be challenges in the future, I would like to channel the energy in a positive way. So, do you want to hear a sample, maybe?
Absolutely, we would like to hear a sample. Do we want to hear a sample?
So, birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good.
You see all these female students in the front smiling ear to ear. They're like, who's that foreigner with the nice hair? I can see it. It's truth, right? I can see it in your faces, don't lie. All right, thank you, brother. Thanks so much. For Jeffrey Laraya, hello, sir. Hello again. I must say that what you are doing is truly inspiring, honestly. So from your point of view, what are the small things we can do to make this world more inclusive?
Okay.
It's a Miss Universe question.
Thank you for the compliment that starts out with, but I also am going to use that in my answer a little bit. Because I think part of a way to make the world more inclusive is to try to change the way we think a little bit. Now you said what I do is inspiring.
Well, I read it, but I agree.
Yeah, but now usually when somebody asks me what I do for a living, I simply tell them I'm a teacher. Because once I tell them I'm a teacher of deaf kids, I get this sort of reaction of, wow, that's such a great thing you're doing, that's so nice, right? So you're getting this sort of pity reaction, is what it really is. But the way I see it, I'm teaching kids who deserve a teacher as much as anyone else. There just happen to be fewer people doing it. So when we try to think of the world as everybody coming from a different place, but everybody having value to bring to the world, that makes us more inclusive. Being in a foreign country for me right now, you can sort of compare that to the world that my students live in every day. I don't think anyone here would call me disabled, but I kind of am by not speaking Tagalog if everyone around me speaks Tagalog. Well, that's exactly everyday life of my students. So when you think of it in that type of a perspective, then it's just a little different.
Do you have a particular moment that stands out in terms of a breakthrough in the education that you've given, like with a specific student, and you're like, this was such a great day because something awesome happened? You know how like a lot of teachers have these breakthrough moments, whether you're a math teacher or you're a sports teacher or whatever it is?
One of my favorite moments might be, kind of tying in your question from before as well. One of my hobbies is woodworking.
Okay.
As my wife can tell you, we have way too many shelves now in our house. I'm not allowed to build shelves anymore. But I had a student who he had not really developed very much language at all, and really he wasn't looked at as too, let's say, academically savvy.
Okay.
But then I started doing.
Sorry, not too academically savvy or academically savvy?
No, not so much.
Not so much.
I mean,
okay.
as he's presented
Yes,
as
yes.
a student.
Got it.
But then I worked on a couple projects with him. I worked with him building a bench for the park by our school. This kid's got some real skills that you wouldn't have expected at all.
And you were able to tap those. That's really great.
So, I mean, this was really nice to see. Oh, well, there's people may think that he doesn't have a whole lot of potential because of his language skills, but he certainly has wonderful vocational potential. He has a lot of things he could eventually do.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Round of applause. As is the case, really, I think with everybody in the world, where everybody has some kind of specific talent, all you need to do is just find it, right? Some kind of specialization. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for your work. All right, that concludes our second round of questions. We're going to go to the third round. I want like some kind of performance to happen here, but there's no song and that. You guys should do the rap and sign language thing together. You totally should. All right, never mind. Okay, I'm just going to move on. You dancing? All right, okay, let's move on. So, meeting new people could be very exciting, and I'm sure that our guests have questions that they want to ask one another. So for our third round, we shall allow our panelists to randomly ask questions to each other. This is pretty cool. I take a break, I guess. All right, so first we have our fitness expert, JP Amistoso, who will ask a question to our beauty executive. Go ahead.
All right, so Ramina, so I know you work in the beauty industry, right? So what is your definition of beauty?
Miss Universe question, ready? Good afternoon, everyone. In all seriousness, I really do, it's a great question, JP, and I think we all have our point of view, and I think we've all heard beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and that actually really does ring true. I think a lot of us may think that the outside appearance, the size of our waist, the color of our eyes, makes us who we are, but that's not at all true. It really is about mind, body, and spirit and soul. I think furthermore, it's how you feel and how you act. Like I mentioned before, it's really how you can identify yourself as an individual, and if you can sleep at night, and if you can move on, and if you could look at your family and friends in the face and be able to be who you are. 100% without sounding too corny, it is truly all those three things. I think we are sometimes misjudged and misled by advertisements. I mean, I won't deny the fact that L'Oreal preys on that, on being able to show beautiful models with beautiful skin and beautiful bodies, but that's not really what it's about, and that's why organizations like us find ways to work with underprivileged and find ways to work with charities. So really, for me, it's all encompassing of those three things.
And Steve Harvey comes out with the crown. Great answer. Okay.
That's Miss Philippines.
Ramana, you may now ask your question to our performing artist, JD Ricafort.
So I'm going to grant your wish.
Okay.
So JD, you've spoken a lot today about what you've done, how you've come here, and you've actually took away all the questions I wanted to ask you. So instead, I saw you up there rap and break dance and all of that, but I would love, as I know you can, hear you sing a ballad.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I want to hear that too.
Would we all like to hear JD sing a ballad?
Sure. Yeah, so I'll sing a song. How could I just let you walk away? Turn around and see me cry. There's so much I need to say to you. So many reasons why. You're the only one who really knew me at all. So take a look at me now. There's just an empty space. There's nothing left here to remind me. Just the memory of your face. Take a look at me now. I'll still be standing here. Oh, but to wait for you is all I can do, and that's a chance I've got to take. Take a good look at me now.
All right. Your sister did that for me last year on the stage too. I don't know what your parents fed you guys when you guys were kids. But, all right. Number 3, JD, please direct your question to your fellow singer, entrepreneur Gabrielle Isip.
Sure. So Gabrielle, I love hearing your story. In a lot of ways, I feel like I can relate. Also, being someone who has multiple interests, but at the same time, it's also so unique. So I'd love to ask you about when you perform and kind of how you see yourself as a performer. In the hip-hop world, as an example. There are lots of rappers and MCs who kind of create a different persona when they perform that may be different from their everyday life. So I'm curious to know, when you perform, do you see yourself as kind of playing a different role or playing a character? And how do you kind of straddle those two worlds?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. Actually, I don't see myself like playing a different character. It's still me, and I think it has to be. It has to be genuine. But I would certainly say that I highlight certain aspects in my personality to showcase that when I'm performing. And I've been told that I look like somebody else on stage by others. So yeah, but I think it's important to stay true to yourself. And not be fake, because I think certainly in industries, creative industries, they will notice that, and yeah.
All right, awesome. All right, Gabrielle, you may now ask your question to Dr. Robertino Lim.
Yeah. So after hearing your story, it seems like you have a very strong internal drive that led you to this choice of choosing your career, and that was your own choice. So I would want to ask you, what motivates you?
Well, I think there's a few things that motivate me, some that I think some of my fellow panelists here have in common. I think there's the internal drive to to do well, to learn more, to expand what you can do. All those things were really important, when I was swimming in flashcards and textbooks and test questions. And then there's the other parts of it, not just the internal things, which are so important, but the external things, and I don't mean like parents or other people respecting you or being proud of you. That's really great, and that's really important, but I think the external things, like the people that you're going to be working with and the people that you take care of, I've always found it really important to, just thinking about a patient who is near the end of her life, had end-stage liver disease, and I was called in to manage, her medications and check her labs, all that sort of stuff, and we did all that. But the most important part of what we did was trying to connect, because as I've learned, and as many people that I work with teach every day, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And while many people may look up to a doctor or anyone else in the healthcare profession to be this ideal, I think when I found the most success with patients in the room, whether it be a hospital or clinic, in any setting, is when you kind of just try to see them where they are and to be just another human, talking to another human that is in their time of need, maybe in their most vulnerable time, telling you their deepest secrets or their most shameful thoughts, which maybe they think are so shameful, but really are just quite normal. And just being there for reassurance and being another person, it can often be the most healing thing. And those external factors, as well as the internal ones I mentioned before, are the ones that motivate me the most in my life.
A lot of good people on the stage. Thank you, thank you. Very nice. Sounds a lot nicer too because of his voice, right? It's so gentle. All right, Dr. Tino, you may now ask a question to our health advocate, JV Aruta.
Easy question, easy question.
Yeah.
Easy question. Sorry. Go ahead.
Do you know what I'm going to ask? Okay. So as we heard earlier, you work with Alzheimer's and dementia patients, and people who are maybe every day losing touch with either their past or their present or just memories are starting to fade or already have. What is working with people whose memories may be going away or have already? What has that taught you about your work and maybe even more broadly, your life?
A more accessible example maybe is the movie 50 First Dates. It's not the best, it's not a best example, but when you're working with somebody with Alzheimer's, it's every time you meet them, it's like the first time you meet them, which does present...
Kind of like a Dory.
Yeah.
Like in
yeah,
Finding
exactly.
Nemo, right? Okay. It's
Yeah.
for the younger
Oh, yeah.
audience that don't know
Sorry,
the
yeah,
Adam Sandler movie. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
No worries.
Old reference.
Our reference, yeah.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of opportunities to make mistakes and know that it's okay to make mistakes, because maybe, you mess something up and you don't quite get what you need, to accomplish with that patient. But, you can step away, reset, and come back. But what it's taught me more than anything else is how important it is to focus on how you make a person feel. The interesting thing with Alzheimer's patients is that they may not remember what you talked about, but the way they feel, it lingers on. So if you leave them happy, they'll probably within 5 minutes forget that you even had a conversation. But the next person who comes in will come out and say, hey, they were in such a good mood.
Oh, that is fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it hangs
So
around.
it's not a full reset. It's just the reset of the memory, not the emotion.
Yeah, and
Wow.
it really it triggers in you that that need to to try and make that connection with the patient. It goes a very, very long way in helping them and also making your day just a little bit easier. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. JV, please direct your question to our inclusion advocate, Jeffrey.
Well, yeah. Before I ask Jeff a question, actually, I want to ask the audience a question. Anybody have tissues in the audience? Anybody? Meron.
Are you going to change your mind about wiping puwets?
No. Actually, this is just more checking in with the audience. Just check people beside you. Kung dumudugong ilong, pakishare ng tissue ninyo, ha? Thank you. Okay. Nakakamiss mag-Tagalog, actually. So I just wanted to throw that
For
in.
the record, he's totally tripping on you right now. And it's not that bad.
Actually, I would actually like to ask our Italian-American friend a question
Yes.
in Tagalog. So, Jeff, is that okay? All right.
You guys planned that, didn't you?
No.
It's too cool of a moment. Yeah.
I won't do that to you, man. But I mean, so I'll just sort of follow the thread that we've been talking about, which is connecting with people. I feel that you sort of have an advantage over the rest of us who have to rely a lot on talking and hearing, to make a connection with other people. So I was wondering, from your perspective, what's a good way we can connect with other people without talking? I mean, you can talk to tell us the answer, but I'm just saying it. Yeah. Thanks.
Well, I think it's kind of something that both you just touched on and also Robertino. When we talk about kindness and compassion for other people, that's something that's not necessarily expressed in any particular language. People really notice when you are trying to communicate with them, when you are making an effort to make some sort of engagement. An example of this might be, in my school, I teach a class of deaf children, but I'm really the only teacher that teaches deaf children in my school. So the other people, the other staff that work in my school do not necessarily know any sign language or have any real experience with deaf children. Now, they'll see my students in the hallway and interact with them on a certain level. And my students pick up on which people are trying to interact with them, trying to have some sort of experience with them, and they gravitate toward those people. Some of those people have, then through small little conversations with my kids, picked up some sign language, but really the message is you can tell when somebody's trying. You can go anywhere in the world and not be able to speak the language where you are. And you can find some people who aren't going to want to communicate with you at all. Or you can find some people who, yes, they know they don't speak your language, they know that you don't speak their language, but still you can have an experience, you can get a message across. Whether that's gesturing and smiling and facial expressions and pointing to stuff and drawing pictures, whatever it may be. But it's really just an initial attempting to connect with another person, which also goes back to the other stuff I spoke about, where seeing that everybody has value and importance and trying to get their perspective on the world and combining all that together. That's what makes our world such a unique and interesting place, is those connections. It's those emotions that you share with your patients that, I'm going to guess that emotion that they connected with you was not really based on the words you said. It was, the way you were present with them. The same way you spoke about your patient that you were dealing with. I'm sure she recognized that you were there and you were somebody who cared about that experience.
Awesome. Okay. To complete the circle, please ask my brother. Please ask JP.
Yo.
Okay, JP. I know that your life, your hobbies, your work it kind of all seems to revolve around physical activity. You like to challenge yourself physically. Your business is built around adding physicality to people's lives, helping them on their own fitness journeys. So worst case scenario, you have some sort of horrible accident or illness or disease, some sort of situation where you are no longer able to participate in sporting activities, physical activities. How do you fill that void or that passion in your life if you no longer can do that?
Right. Scary. That's a scary, scary situation to be in. To be honest, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what will be next, what to do. But what I do know is whatever it is I decide to do, it's going to be in the same realm of values that I have been doing. So always inspiring, always helping. So what it is, I'm not quite sure, but it's going to be around those lines as well. So, yeah.
Guys, what about a round of applause for our panelists? Great stuff, great stuff. Each and every one of you, super impressive. All right.
He's going to dance.
Yeah, I'm going to dance now. Now, okay, so now we'd like to, how are you guys doing so far? You guys all right? Everybody okay? Everybody having a good time? Yes, yes? Everyone having a good time? All right, fantastic. Okay, now we'd like this to be a little more interactive. So for the fourth, I just saw my mom. So for the fourth phase in this round of questioning, we're going to ask the audience to please ask us some questions also, so you guys can take part in this engagement. We're going to ask maybe around 3 to 4 questions based on the amount of time we have left. So does anybody want to ask anybody anything here? You 3 girls, the ones that are all giddy over over his beautiful hair. We have our friends from FPLA, John and my co-host Jeremy, right? Co-host Jeremy. So they're going to be going around. You guys have anything?
Hey, Franco.
Yes, hi, where are you? I can't see you.
I'm over here.
Oh, there you are. Hi. Is that you, Jeremy?
This is Bon.
Oh, Bon. Oh, hey, man. Can't see you.
We have quite a number of students who are eager to ask their questions.
Okay.
First up is from Philippine College of Criminology. Miss Elaine C.
Hi, Elaine. Where's Elaine?
Elaine? Is she here? Oh, there she is.
Where are you at, Elaine? So sorry, it's just so hard to see anybody from the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, there. Hi, Elaine. Yes, okay.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm good, thank you. Okay, I'm Elaine C. and I'm from Philippine College of Criminology, and my question is for Mr. Jeffrey Laraya, am I right? Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think that deaf people have, I'm sorry, let me rephrase it. Do you think deaf people communicate better than the most of us who talk and who have the language that we speak right now?
That's a great question. I think most of us don't usually think that way.
Sorry, let me just clarify. So the question is, do deaf people communicate better in terms of that language as opposed to how we communicate in our language? Is that
right,
do I have it correct?
That's what I understood.
Right, go ahead. Yes.
Yes. So I think most people tend to see that deaf people are at a disadvantage by not speaking. But my experiences with deaf people, I've been working with deaf people for years now, and I've really grown to appreciate their language, which is amazing to me as a visual language. I have adult deaf friends who, they have ways of communicating things which in some instances I don't feel we have words for in the same way. My wife can attest to that on occasion I will sign something to her, which of course she has no idea what I'm saying, but for me in my mind that was just the easiest way to express the thing I was trying to say. Another tidbit about sign language, if anyone's interested in learning, It works great in places where we can't hear each other. So when I was first learning sign language, I learned that sign language is great for using in bars where you can't hear other people. If you have another friend across the room, oh, you can still communicate just fine.
Awesome, great. Happy, Elaine?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you too, Elaine. Have a nice day. Anybody else? Bon? Bon, where is...
Next one is Joanne Nashon, also from Philippine College of Criminology.
Yeah, a lot of criminologists here, or future criminologists. Joanne, where are you? Joanne, student Joanne, are you here? No? Is Joanne not here? Sorry, I can't see you guys. It's really bright on stage. Bon, next one.
Next one's from De La Salle College of Antipolo. It's Angeli Rambono. Angeli, please approach the mic.
All right, there she is. Hi, Angeli.
Hi, I'm Angelique Rabano from La Salle College, Antipolo.
Hi, how's it going?
Hello, I'm doing fine. I have a question for Mrs. Laraya. And as you know, I am a grade 10 student and our age ranges from 15 and 16. And considering we have senior high school now, a lot of us are asked at a very young age to plan our life. And of course, we're still teenagers and we face a lot of challenges from internal conflicts to our peers and from the people we care about. What advice would you give to us, if you have any? Thank you.
Wow, it's a great question. What advice I can give you is, don't worry. If I could tell you what I was doing at grade 10, actually I probably couldn't really tell you what I was doing in grade 10 because no, but in all seriousness, it's true. You're here today, which is a testament to your direction and that you want to learn from others. You're inspiring. You want to be motivated. Just coming up with the question itself is already showing that you do have a direction. So what I will say is just continue to work hard. I will say, and I'm saying on record again, listen to your parents, go to church, or at least have a belief, and it will follow. I'm very fortunate in that sense that I didn't necessarily have a direct plan and I followed to a T. Like I mentioned before, I fell into it. So all I can say is just do what you love, enjoy what you do, be young. Because even though I had a great time when I was in high school, there were some times that I wish I didn't take myself too seriously, that I didn't necessarily wait too long to study for that test. But in the end, just going through that and studying hard and going to school and meeting people was an important part of my journey. If you know what you want to do, go for it. But if you don't know what you want to do, don't worry. It will happen. It just become true to yourself. Go out of the box, have different experiences. That really is what a lot of this is about, is to have different experiences. And you'll find it, I promise you. Don't worry.
All right, thank you very much. Bon, who do we have next, sir?
Next from a student from the University of Santo Tomas, it's Jackie Kaiser.
Jackie.
Jackie.
UST. Jackie, is that you? Is that the lady who just stood up? Hey, Jackie. Bon, can you hand her the mic, please?
Good afternoon. I'm Jackie Kaiser from the University of Santo Tomas.
Good afternoon to you too, Jackie.
My question is for the ones who have lived and have taken their education in the Philippines. As college students, we will all be graduating and working soon. Do you recommend that we should consider taking our careers abroad or instead of the Philippines? And what made you take your career abroad?
That's a great question. So, raise of hands first for the people who are based here. Okay.
I'll go first. That
was what you call a waste of time.
So that's a great question, actually, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who are thinking about that right now. Ako nung napalipat kami sa Canada nung medyo nangangalahati na ako sa college dito. So, tsaka hindi ko choice yun. Hindi ko nangyari lang yan bigla. So, lumipat ako, doon ako nagtrabaho. Pero ang masasabi ko, hindi siya necessary para maging masaya ka sa buhay. Actually, sa ngayon may kinoconsider akong job na mapapabalik ako sa Pilipinas eh. Pero yung pagpunta sa ibang bansa, hindi siya madali. Maraming mawawala sa iyo. Unang-una yung mga kaibigan mo. Meron namang internet pero iba rin yung nakakasama mo sila araw-araw. At actually, yun yung pinaka number one na dahilan kung ba't nung natanggap kami sa Canada, ayaw kong pumunta. Pero naisip ko na, sige, opportunity to eh. Iilan lang yung mga tao na nakakatanggap ng ganyang opportunity. So tingnan ko kung ano mangyayari. At ginawa ko siya, naging masaya naman ako after. So, yun sinasabi ko kanina na parang dapat open ka sa mga yung mga hindi sumusunod sa plano mo. Pero ganun siya. Nangyari lang sa akin, tinanggap ko at I did my best at na-maximize ko naman siya. I don't know about JP.
No, exactly the same thing. Copy paste. I'm kidding. No.
Hey.
No. Kagaya sinabi ni JV, mahirap siya. Pero I think if you have it's hard because I never had a direction that I didn't have direction. I'll be honest. I graduated. I did not know what to do. I did not. I'll be totally honest. I did not know what to do. But I think there's a charm of being overseas, right? It molds you for a bit. Like what I was saying earlier, the grit and all that stuff. You learn more about yourself and what you really, really want. And like what JV said, you go through the changes, you adapt, you change. You get to know yourself a little bit more better. Now you can do the same thing here too, right? Here when you graduate, get a job or whatever it is you like to do, right? And as you go, it will change. And I think my biggest advice will be accept that change. You don't, and be willing to be flexible with it. Because that's the only way, it will define you as you go. Like me and JV, right, Javes? Right?
Yeah, I think if I decided I wasn't happy with it, I don't think I would have worked hard. I don't think I would have, done what I did.
Right. And same here. I didn't know I was gonna open a gym, and then actually I miss home. But it just defines everything that we do, everything that you'll do, right? It'll just keep going and be open to that change that you're gonna do. Okay? Did I answer your question? Did we answer your question? Awesome, thanks.
Oh, one last thing, sorry. If you do go abroad, don't do LDR.
I agree.
Does not work.
I agree. Ooh, wait, why were there moans? Did he hit a nerve? Yes? Where's your boyfriend? Where is he? Is he gone? No, okay. Explain yourself. No, I'm kidding. Just getting uncomfortable now. All right, Vaughn, any more questions?
We also have another one from UST, Krian Pineda.
Hi. This question is addressed to everyone. I remember that most of the speakers kept on saying that we should use our ideas into creating a new platform that can be used outside of the Philippines. You said that we should invest on writing, especially if we are into arts. So, given that situation and considering that there are some industries who would rather invest on, mainstream ideas. Take for example, films. How can you inspire people, especially students like us, who are just starting in the field of art, in a way that we can create ideas that are really relevant to the country? Yung isang tipo ng ideya na hindi lamang siya nagpapakita ng art, pero isang ideya na humuhubog sa pag-iisip ng isang tao, that is something relevant to social change, especially the ones that we really do need right now.
So the question is, how do we inspire this? How do we get this to come about?
Yes.
Yes.
Since yun nga po, there are industries who would rather invest in
mainstream,
something
I
that's
see.
mainstream.
Okay.
Since there are a lot of students or somehow people who are very interested in the field of art, how can we empower these types of ideas, especially if the industries themselves do not prioritize this type of things?
Okay, thank you very much. Great question. So the question here is about empowerment. How do we bring it to the forefront, right? So who wants to take this? JD.
Hey, that's a great question. It's a really hard one. And I think if everyone knew the answer to that question, I think a lot of people in the world, even some very, very, very successful people who've had a lot of success, are still kind of struggling to answer that question. And I think that's okay. I think we can all struggle together and slowly we'll figure it out. So I guess at a very, very high level, I would love to be able to just say, like, just do whatever you want and it'll happen and it'll all work out. I think having that philosophy to motivate yourself sometimes is helpful. It can kind of get you through the day sometimes, but it's not very helpful in a practical sense. So again, I don't have all the answers to this, but just from personal experience, actually, Franco kind of dropped it earlier when you mentioned the internet, but I think that there are a lot of tools available to us to take advantage of opportunities. So one very practical thing that I learned, for example, musical theater and hip hop. Prior to the commercial and worldwide success of the musical Hamilton, a lot of people wouldn't have taken that idea seriously, the idea to combine those two. And so your ideas, your passions might have a similar, you might kind of think, oh, this is a little bit outside of the mainstream. So a couple of things that I've learned on the way, kind of in my path. On the internet, there's an audience for almost everything. No matter what you do, you will find people who will click and watch your stuff or listen to your stuff. And it's crazy. They could be people like halfway around the world who connect with your material. And it's kind of weird how that happens, but that does exist. Another kind of practical piece of advice is find people who are working in an area that is similar to what you want to do. So for me, with musical theater and hip hop, what I did is I actually reached out to some of the people who performed in Hamilton and basically pitched myself on a collaboration with them and said, here's what I have to offer you. And you don't get all of those people to call you back, but all you need is one person to hit you back up, and now you have a potential collaborator who may already have an established audience who can now bring you into the fold. So for me, after that collaboration, I have a lot more doors that are open to me now. And that loop kind of continues. The more work that you do, even if it's small, even if you think that it might be, oh, this is a little niche, or who's going to really see this? There's only going to be 10 people on the internet or in my community who are going to be interested in this. Everything that you do, you can build upon, and more doors will open. That's at least been my personal experience. I don't know if anyone wants to add.
Thank you. Yeah, no, JD's completely right. I can say this actually with a lot more certainty because this is my business. The most democratizing factor on the planet Earth ever is the internet. So, especially here in the Philippines, especially if it's about social change, if you want to talk about anything political or anything environmental or anything of that sense, as long as it's good, it'll get picked up. I guarantee you, it'll get picked up. I do this every day. So if you use your social media, if you use your Facebook, your Twitter, your Instagram, and all that stuff, if you create a film, write an essay, as long as it makes sense and it is good, some celebrity or some news outlet will pick it up, and then you'll get traction. I guarantee you. It's tried and tested. So that's the practical advice I'll give. So anybody else?
Mainstream is overrated. Just
Yeah,
be weird.
Mainstream is, it's yeah. The tectonic plates are shifting right now,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Just a little bit to add, I think I totally agree with what JD's saying, and obviously I'm not a full-time performer myself right now, but as an artist at heart and maybe someone who loves viewing and participating in great art, I think you want to go where the ball's going to be. If you're a shark, you want to go where the fish are going to be, not where they are right now. And so the other part of that is that what's really important is that you care about your message. And if you care about your message, then that's the only way that anyone else is going to care about your message. And I think that as a viewer and as a person who's an artist at heart as well, and also as someone who's seen a lot of people who are at their time of most doubt, I think that sticking to who you are and understanding that is the most important part.
And I'll just add one more thing. I think that's really great advice that I really agree with. So if what you're interested in or what you're passionate about is something that is not the mainstream, I think that, in fact, I guarantee you that because you're interested in it, despite it not being mainstream, your interest and your passion for it is 100 times more intense, and you can bring so much more energy to whatever that is, whatever your goals are, than people who are working on stuff in the mainstream. And that's your advantage over them.
Love, what's your name again? Sorry, what is it?
Korean.
Korean?
Yeah,
Korean, yeah. Korean question. Are you asking this question because of the recent release of the new Metro Manila Film Festival stuff where they went back to the bad movies again, as opposed to last year, which was good? Come on, we all know they're bad.
To be honest, that's another part. But there are other theater films that I'm really a fan of that are really not given much of the spotlight.
Right. Well, this is what the internet's doing. Like all these big news, not news, all these big mainstream outlets like ABS and GMA right now are worried because what the internet does is it takes away a lot of their viewers. It's completely democratizing, and I 100% guarantee you that if you do something that's good and socially relevant, it's going to get picked up. So that's practical advice, and I promise you can take it to the bank. All right?
Thank you so much.
Cool. You're welcome. Anybody else? Bon?
We have Lainel Tinglao from La Consolacion College, Manila.
Okay. Anyone? Oh, there she is. Hi, what's your name?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
What's your name, love?
My name is Maria Lainel Tiglao.
Maria.
Yes,
hi,
Maria
Maria.
Lainel. I'm from La Consolacion College, Manila. And my question is for Miss Romina. Yeah. Miss Romina, since we all know that the youth of today has a lot of really like the trends, beauty trends nowadays. So with that, and given that your career is in the line of various luxury beauty brands, how can you inspire us? How can you inspire us to not put the identity or the security to the beauty that this world defines, without telling them na parang wag kayong bumili ng makeup and all. It's like empowering them to not put their security and dependency on the makeup. That's all.
That's a great question. So I think you're bringing up a good point. Money, things, material cannot buy happiness. I think one of the notions about the beauty industry is that it gives women and men products that make them look a certain way. That's actually not, especially in the luxury beauty industry, what they do. It's how the products make you feel. It's not how they make you look. I think ultimately with marketing and branding and people like me doing our jobs well, it's based on a very superficial point of view. But actually, a lot of the luxury things that we have, the smell of the Lancome cream, the mascara from Urban Decay, it's how it feels, how the package looks when you hold it, how the fragrance of the product smells, how the skincare on your skin feels. So what I will say is, of course, these products make you look good, but it's really about how they make you feel. And I will say I know a lot of very wealthy, rich, famous women who don't use an ounce of luxury beauty products. They just happen to be very fortunate and never use them. But they are the women that we sponsor and the men that we sponsor because that's who people think that so you have to use to look that way, but that's actually not true. So don't feel pressured by that. Don't feel like you need to spend all your money to get this one facial cream because it's going to make you look a certain way. A lot of these products are about how they make you feel, and don't spend your money just to think you're going to change overnight just by buying it.
Excellent. One last question, Bon. You have anybody else? We'll take one last question.
It's Luigi from UST.
Luigi, first guy. Bonnie's over here.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This question is directed for every one of you. Being influential leaders, can you give us some programs or interactive activities that you are currently doing right now to elevate the status of Filipinos from students like us to people living in communities, hard-to-reach communities, that our future leaders might do as well in the future?
Anybody want to take it? Sorry, did you guys all get that question? No. Sorry, can you ask it one more time, bro?
Being influential leaders, can you give us some programs that would elevate the status of Filipinos?
Okay, programs. What do you mean by programs? Like,
Interactive activities, just small ones, to somewhat make prestige and name to our country, to elevate our status.
like endeavors? You're talking about daily routines? Like, sorry, maybe I'm the one not understanding the question. Somebody. Like, so what do you mean programs? How do we elevate the Filipino? Is that it?
Yes, to empower. Take, for example, creating such economic policies or creating interactive activities for students, for debates, conventions, and such.
Oh, you mean within schools? Or
it could be national or it could be schools, in universities.
oh, what kind of like events should we put together? Is that it?
Exactly.
Okay, does anybody want to take this?
I'm going to take a stab at this. Mataas ang pangarap mo, dude. I mean, it's like you want to help the whole country, which is awesome. I think you want a little bit of information and possibly advice on how you can actually make the country a better place. What I'm going to say is, don't try to boil the ocean. You're not going to do anything overnight. Where I think is a good place to start is with yourself. I think anybody who is, I don't know a single person who is in university that knows exactly who they are and what they want to be in life. Take some time to really get to know yourself. What are your skills? And use them. What are your weaknesses and work on them. So I don't know you, but I mean, obviously you don't have much of a fear of speaking in public, which is really nice. So that may be something that you can now use as leverage to start a program where maybe you're teaching kids who are younger than you math, science, or how to read. But yeah, don't go right for the top. Start where you are. If you're from a certain province, maybe take a look at what's missing, and get a group of people together with similar interests, and see what you guys can do. Again, you're not gonna save the world overnight, but it's certainly good to start and make some plans and get some like-minded people to help you out.
Great, awesome. Anyone else?
Sure. Yeah. So again, totally agree with what Jave was saying. I think that figuring out what is your kind of personal story, because I think all of us here on stage, we kind of have our own personal stories, and that comes through in all of the activities that we do. So figuring out what is your personal story, and then what way would you like to tell that story and share that story with others? Because I think, kind of aiming for, a very broad sense of like affecting an entire nation. I think it actually becomes a lot more. I think the right path to think about how to do that is with a very personal touch. So what's unique to you? And how do you kind of want to share your personal story? So I don't exactly know what your major is, or what your interests are, what your hobbies or activities are, but find what is your number one preferred way of communicating and sharing that story. And if that platform doesn't exist currently, start it and create it. Start a club or start an event where you can kind of control the message, and then people will get to know you and get to know what you stand for. And if that includes your pride in your country and in the Philippines, then that's how they will come to know that.
Sweet. Cool. Thanks so much, JD.
Did we
All right.
answer your question,
now
actually?
Oh, thank you so much, brother. Thank you.
Did
All
we
right.
answer your question?
Did you get your answer? Yeah?
Thanks.
All right, cool.
Hey, Franco.
Yes.
I think our general manager, Mr. Roy Valley, wants to share his ideas on the question.
Oh, yes, okay, no worries. Ladies and gentlemen, our head, Mr. Roy Avalia. He's the guy.
Yes, actually, that's a very good question from the student. The First Pacific Leadership Academy does annual leadership summit or summits for students. As a matter of fact, I was mandated by the chairman and by the new president of our Board of Trustees, Mr. Vargas, to conduct an annual leadership summit for students. We've started this 2 years ago, and we had about 180. When we started this, we had about 180 students coming from the north of Ilocos down to Mindanao, who came to Antipolo. They were actually sponsored by their municipalities, and they went through a 4-day program with us on leadership. And last year we had one as well, and we're planning another one this year. So try to be very conscious of what's happening and try to read the newspapers, because we're advertising this actually. We're doing 2 things. One is the one for privileged schools, and the other one is for underprivileged schools. Obviously, UST come from the privileged category. So, ibig sabihin na may bayad. Because yung may bayad, yun ang nagsasubsidize nung walang bayad. No? So, it just basically, it's a cycle that we do. But annually we do this, and interestingly, the subject matters are very encompassing. It covers good citizenship, it covers arts, culture, it covers entrepreneurship, and it covers a very wide spectrum of knowledge that you can learn from. And we have very good speakers who come from the Asian region as well as from the US and of course locally. So try to be very conscious of what's happening and try to read the newspapers, because we advertise the calendar for the leadership program or the leadership summit. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tito Roy. Excellent. All right, at this point of the program, we have a very, very special treat. As a way of sharing their music from Sweden, performing their original song, Keep On, our Gabriel Isip and his partner, Marcos Bertelson. The name of your duo is Magi, right? Magi. Ladies and gentlemen, Magi.
Okay, we want to specially dedicate this song to the inspiration of the youth and also to our very thought leader, Chairman MVP.
I guess it's hard for you to stay. We haven't spoken for a while, but it feels like yesterday. And have you found somebody new? Can't seem to let it go. My heart belongs to you. The only thing I wanna know, do you still care about me? 'Cause it's been hard to carry on. And you just gotta let me know. Why can't we just keep on doing what we're doing? Why can't we just keep on doing what we're doing now? Doing what we're doing. I try to break down those walls, can't even get through to you. Would you listen to me at all? So I'm prepared for the worst. But if you hear me now, I will give you the world. The only thing I wanna know, do you still care about me? 'Cause it's been hard to carry on, and you just gotta let me know. Why can't we just keep on doing what we're doing? Why can't we just keep on doing what we're doing now? Oh, doing what we're doing. Doing what we're doing. 'Cause it's been hard to carry on.
Okay, can we get some claps?
Why can't we just keep on doing what we're doing? Why can't we just keep on? Yeah, yeah. Why can't we just keep on doing what we're doing? Why can't we just keep on doing what we're doing now? Doing what we're doing. Doing what we're doing. Gotta keep on doing what we're doing. Gotta keep on doing what we're doing.
All right, Magi. Very nice, very nice.
Tack så jättemycket, tack så jättemycket.
Thanks, Manila. Thank you for letting us be
High
here.
fives, man. High fives. My new bro. Like to call for an ambulance. The 3 girls have fainted. I think they're dead. Do you guys have some more? Yeah? All right, let's do it.
Let's do one more, but you gotta help us out with this one, okay? Okay, clap along with us.
So baby, won't you stay here? Won't you stay with me for one more hour? Lay here. We have many things left to discover. Waiting for the right time, waiting for a chance to tell you what I feel. I knew it right from the start. It was all clear even when we were apart. And I just wanna see you tonight. Pretend that you're still mine. 'Cause I can get you out of my mind. Baby, won't you stay here? Won't you stay with me for one more hour? Lay here. We have many things left to discover. Oh, 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 oh. For one more hour. Oh, 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 oh. And I didn't want to lose you. I didn't want to hurt you. Didn't want anyone to take your place. The movies, all our songs, thinking of what we had before it all went wrong. And I just want to see you tonight. Pretend that you're still mine. 'Cause I can get you out of my mind. Yeah. So baby, won't you stay here? Won't you stay with me for one more hour? Lay here. We have many things left to discover. Oh, 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 oh. For one more hour. Oh, 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 oh. Baby, won't you stay here? Won't you stay with me for one more hour? Oh, 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 oh. Sing along with us. Oh, 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 oh. For one more hour. So baby, won't you stay here? Won't you stay with me for one more hour? Lay here. We have many things left to discover.
Fantastic. All right, everybody,
Thank
give
you.
it up for
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Magi.
Our hearts belongs to FPLA.
Thanks, guys.
Well done, guys. Guys, Magi, aka 40% of Westlife. Well done, well done. Hey, bro, good job. All right, you know what? That's it. I think that's it. I'm gonna run down everybody. Hold on. That brings us to the end of the show. I'm gonna run down everybody. First of all, what about a round of applause for our wonderful panel? Wonderful, wonderful panel. Round of applause to Jeremy, who took care of us the entire day, the last couple of days. Of course, to the always terrific Roy Valia and Butch Peña. Thank you so much for everything and everybody in FPLA. All right, let me run it down. Dr. Robertino Lim. Robertino. Jeffrey Laraya. Gabriel Isip. JV Aruta. JP Amistoso. Romina Laraya. And JD Ricafort. Thank you, everybody, for sharing with us your life stories, your struggles and philosophies, and encouraging us to live the life that we want to live. Once again, a round of applause, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Franco Mabanta. I hope you guys had fun today. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. See you later. Oh, by the way, Mancom, everybody get up on stage. Just take a photo. Oh, thank you. Flowers for me too.
First Pacific Leadership Academy would like to thank our sponsors. PLGT. First Pacific Company Limited, Hong Kong. Rojas Holdings Incorporated. Metro Pacific Tollways Corporation. Meralco. And Maynilad.